Hey there, everybody. Happy summer. Hope your AC's working. The sun's not burning you. Life is good and you're part of this world. We're thrilled to have you joining us once again. I got a buddy of mine here. He's a gamer. He's been around the bush for a little while. He's starting off on a whole new project that I'm excited about for him and his family. And I thought, let's get this cat to come hang out with me for a little while, educate some people on what he's up to and what we're going on. Please give it up for the founder of the Beyer Company, Bluebird Mountain Organics, naturally grown organics, house of dates. I don't know, the post sandwich shop arena. I don't know, whatever else you got going on, dude. I don't even know. But nonetheless, please give it up and welcome my friend, Darrell Beyer. Welcome, dude.
Thanks, man. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to our conversation.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you're here too. I hope you say that at the end. You may just tell me to go pound sand at the end if we screw this all up. I don't think we will. I don't think we will. I don't think we will. But I'm thrilled that you're here to kind of talk about what's going on. You've got a great perspective. You've got a trajectory, which we're going to get into a little bit, that's unlike a lot of people that's in this organic space and the produce space itself. And I thought it'd be kind of a fun conversation just to kind of get into a little bit. But before we do that, save me having to do the campy introduction and read your bio. Tell everybody who the hell you are a little bit. Give them a little glimpse into your journey and who you are, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, my journey's kind of unique. You know, my name is Darrell Beyer. I've been in produce for about 27 years, which sounds really funny saying that now.
It's a long time, dude. That's like 3,000 years to the average human.
Yeah, you know, I feel still 27, so I guess I'm doing something all right.
27 plus cooling.
Yeah, exactly. I grew up on the produce market. You know, my grandfather owned a house on the market. My father worked there. I had a couple uncles work there, and I grew up on the street in the rough, tough in downtown LA. And then, you know, that company was sold. So slowly I kind of worked my way around to a couple of houses on the market. You know, got a good opportunity working for a grower packer shipper a number of years later, and transitioned to organic and, you know, been taking a bumpy road, lots of twists and turns on the way. It's been nothing short of exciting and depressing at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, so I've been doing this a long time. I've seen a lot of changes and it's been interesting to say the least. So
no two ways about it. I mean, in our journey, our path has been similar to a lot of ways, especially being, you know, on that giant pirate ship down there called the LA wholesale market. But you've had an interesting journey, no ways about it. And something you shared with me, I thought it was great. I want to bring this up to kick us off as I start flowing some questions to you. You talked about bruised knees and hurt egos are all a part of the climb. And I think anybody that's been around as long as we have, if you can't accept that, you're not going to have any longevity.
No, you know, I mean, you know, starting off working for my grandfather at a well-known company, it was easy to let an ego get in my way a lot. And, you know, during this journey of life, you know, it got crushed a few times, had to get back up. But I learned a lot about people and how to treat people. And, you know, it's been a good life experience for me. But again, you know, I've been kicked to the bottom and had to pick myself back up. And it's been an interesting, expensive journey, to say the least.
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt. Well, you know, I want to talk about Grandpa Hank a little bit, you know, and the fact that you really, you know, you set off to be a third generation produce guy. That was kind of your born into trajectory. And then Grandpa Hank and the partners go, frick it, let's just sell the fucking thing and we'll just let it go. We're gonna go play golf, we're gonna go chill, we're gonna go do our thing. You kids just figure it out. I mean, that had to completely, I mean, for lack of a better word, it sounds so campy to say it, but that drastically had to upset the old personal proverbial apple cart for your life, I would imagine.
You know, it did. You know, I think it, you know, sorry, Dad, but I think it probably upset my dad a little bit more. He was a little older. He had a lot more time in the company. But I can remember, you know, in 5th grade, you know, telling people about what my dad did. And he was a produce broker. And, you know, I thought it was the coolest thing. And, you know, we drive around in his car to, you know, we go to a hockey game and I've got his little leather book on my lap. And he's like, write this down, you know, 140 choice, 244, you know, all these different numbers. I'm like, what are you telling me? You know, and it was all, you know, palletization of lemons or grapefruit or star rubies. And it was like, oh man, this is kind of cool. And you know what? He always seemed like it was fun at the same time. Right. Like it wasn't really work, you know? So, working for my father and my grandfather, well, my grandfather was a partner with Sam Pericone and, right. My dad was the VP and, had a couple, like I said, my dad's cousin worked there. I had 2 uncles work there. And I thought that was my life. I mean, I thought for sure I was going to be here forever. I was going to just follow my dad. My grandpa would step back, leave it to us. And, I guess there was a couple of people at that company that thought that, there was a number of family members from both sides, and, everyone thought the same thing.
Yeah.
And, between my grandfather and Sam, I don't think they could really figure out, how to do that. And the easiest thing was probably just to sell it because of the internal fighting that might've happened. And,
sure.
It was a crusher. They sold it to Fresh America in, I think, 1998. We merged with Allied, who was a house across the street. So then it turned into Allied Paracone. My dad had to move on. When they sold the company, all the top sales guys left. They all went. Interfresh was like their next step. So
sure.
That was a big blow to the company in a whole. All the studs left, and it was kind of like sink or swim. So it was really sad. They let go of my uncles. My other uncle quit. My dad was gone. My grandpa was gone. So I was it. That was it. And now I'm surrounded by another company merged. So I've got all these different moving pieces. And
you're young. How old are you? Were you in your 20s?
I was probably 20.
Yeah,
21.
I was gonna say you got no experience. Your brain's not even formed yet.
No, I'm used to riding a rider jack, smoking a cigarette with a forklift with a propane tank, and not a care in the world, thinking life's good.
Hey, they only blow up if they leak.
Yeah, it's so funny. I think back to those days, and like we're smoking cigarettes, driving backwards with a propane tank right in front of us.
Yeah.
Switching tanks. I mean, it was wild time. There was no food safety. You could smoke in the cooler while you're repacking a pallet of lemons. It was kind of earth shattering. Luckily, because of who my family was, it made it easier to get jobs after that happened.
Sure.
I mean, everyone, my dad was pretty good at what he did. My grandpa was pretty good at what he did. And, being the next in line, I guess people assumed that I might be pretty good eventually. I bumped around the market, but it was earth shattering. I thought I would work there forever. And I think it was a little harder on my dad. He was much more into it, and he had invested a lot more time. But it was easier for me to, kind of go bump around and make some mistakes and figure my life out. But luckily, my father and my grandfather gave me this course that, my life took. It changed my life,
Produce 101.
I don't know what I would have done otherwise. I wasn't a big fan of school. I always wanted to be a lawyer, but there was no way I was going to school for 5 years after I got out of high school. I mean, I was done. So, I went to college for a little bit, but, produce has been my life since I was, riding the back seat with my dad and sleeping under his desk at, 2 a.m. So, I'm pretty thankful for my family and the road the doors they opened for me.
For sure.
Indirectly, it's not like they reached out to people and said, hey, hire this guy. It just kind of was indirectly. And, I don't know if I would be, as far as I am on my own, if those things didn't happen. I'm a firm believer that things happen for reasons, and, they're out of your control, but there's something else that's got a path for you, and, bad things happen, good things come out of them. I think it's just kind of a cycle. It was a blessing and a curse.
I would totally agree with that.
So it was disappointing, but it was, it made me work harder and made me change how I looked at things and how I maybe treated people. It was good for me at the end of the day.
No doubt. What do you, when you think back about that time, right? Because, obviously it's a big, it's a gut punch to, multiple people and multiple families in a lot of ways. What do you think was the most meaningful lesson, at age 20, that you took out of that experience?
Don't take anything for granted.
No shit about that.
Anything can happen. Even if you work for a really big, great company, they can always close. Someone can buy it and run it into the ground, which seems to be most of the time. A lot of big companies sell to investment companies, and they don't really have an idea of how to run a produce company. And
plenty of that.
You see so many good companies disappear because things happened or decisions were made. So I probably learned to not take anything for granted and really appreciate, every step of the way, because you never know when that step's going to be yanked out from underneath you and you're going to have to take 4 backwards down the stairs and then start over. So, that's probably what I learned the most. Don't take anything for granted.
Well, you make a really good point, man. And I think people forget that you're never too big to fail and you're never too small to succeed. Right.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And I think we lose perspective. I think if anything is that we see now in today's current environment, to your point about investment dollars, this and that, we're under a major transformation in our food world. There's no two ways about it. I want to go back. I do before we go far, because we both cut our teeth a lot of the same way, walking the streets like common hoodlums on the LA produce market, which literally was a pirate ship. I mean, it didn't have the flag. But it was a pirate ship back then. It was the last, I don't even know what you call it, the last bastion of just gypsy freewheeling, I don't know what you want to call it, lifestyle that was an incredible education beyond belief. My question to you is two-part. First part of the question I want to ask you is, what did that place teach you that you think about today?
Thanks for joining the Todd-versation. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, this is Samantha Rodriguez, the marketing coordinator at Brighter Bites. Thank you for listening to Todd-versations. At Brighter Bites, we are rooted in the belief that if we give our kids something better to munch on, they will. With your support, we will continue to improve the lives of children, their families, and our communities across the country. By providing the finest nutrition education strategies and amazing fresh produce, we are growing our mission to create communities of health through fresh food. Join Brighter Bites in celebrating our 10th birthday. We are helping to create healthier habits for families across the country, one bite at a time. Learn more at brighterbites.org. Don't forget, the better we nourish, the brighter we flourish.
That place, you can't explain it to people that never were there. And now it's nothing like it used
Nowhere
to be.
Near.
Not even close. I mean, I would get there at 2 a.m. and, it was alive. I mean, it was alive. There was so much going on and it was crowded and there were trucks everywhere. I learned a lot about people, in my journey. I've learned a lot about people, but I learned a lot about, there's a lot of different ethnicities down there. And when you're riding a forklift and a rider jack and you're cruising through all the docks, there was a sense of camaraderie through the whole market for every guy that drove a forklift, for every guy that did a rider jack. I mean, I remember shooting down a ramp across Pericone down to the other side over where Yamina is. And I had a rider jack and I had 3 bins and the top bin, fell over and there was oranges everywhere. And, 7 different guys stopped. We all, and they just helped me reload my bin. Boom, 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 boom. We're throwing oranges back in that happened all the time. It didn't matter if you knew guys, you didn't know guys. If something happened, everyone helped. But there was also that rough and tough and dangerous kind of environment too, where you had to kind of watch your mouth and you had to kind of be careful who you spoke to. And, there was a shady element to the place too, but I mean,
there's a very shady element.
Yeah.
Put the word very in front of it. It was very shady because it was all cash, right? So it was a cash and carry market. Yeah, it was crazy. I can remember guys whipping out, $20,000 in bills because they're buying shit all day.
Carrying cash and guns. I mean, they go
cash
together.
And gun, cash and guns. Yeah.
But it was the greatest experience of my life. I mean, it taught me so much about people and produce. I mean, back then, the buyers, the big chain buyers, like,
you had Vons, you had Staters down there.
Yeah, they would come by with their suits.
Luckies.
And, you just throw up like two loads of that, done. Yeah. I mean, it was
fingers on the shoulder. Oh yeah.
It was, and it was like, man. And then it was even more funny, I remember maybe I shouldn't say this, but I remember on Fridays, the nuns would come to Pericone and they'd come get their donation. And then, the black suits would pull up in the town car and walk upstairs and then they'd be there for 5 minutes and then they leave. And I'm like, this place is kind of weird. I mean, it's just got a little bit of everybody and everything. It taught me a lot about, people and helping each other.
I would
It was
agree with that.
it was a very cool place. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, it was the best, collective 5 years of my life, probably. I mean, as far as it was fun, I'd go to work and it was fun,
Yeah. Well, it's very fraternal. To your point, it's very fraternal organization, right? Because everybody was getting up at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, working until 10, 11, whatever the case might be. Vampire hours. You had a lot of really pasty people that worked on that dock. People never saw the sunshine.
No.
No, very, very low. Definitely a high need for vitamin D on the LA produce market back then.
100%,
without a doubt. But it was very fraternal, and to your point, there was a big level of camaraderie. There was, yes, there was the element. We can get into all that, the hookers and all the other crap you want to talk about the streets of LA, right? But nonetheless, it was really an interesting place. And so to me, I think about those lessons back then, and fondly put a lot of the things that I've learned, into today's world and some of my mentality, some of my thinking, right? To your point, being a little bit better, thinking a little bit harder, working better for the cause, et cetera. So applying those lessons was a big deal. And I know that as you shared, have kind of grasped that same idea. Well, it's a great place to cut your teeth. There's no two ways about it. There was no 2 ways about it.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, a lot of the guys and salesmen that I knew and have met along that journey, I mean, are still my friends now. A lot of them have ventured and gone different directions, but I mean, it's like very fraternal, it's like a fraternity. I mean, it's like a group of guys that you see them forever. The produce industry is really big, but it's really small. And it seems like us in our industry, we never really leave. I mean, you try and leave and it sucks you right back in. And it's very cool. It's a very cool industry for those reasons.
I totally agree. I think it's great. I want to touch a little bit about some of your trajectory. I mean, you've been in the organic space for quite a while. You started in the early 2000s. Certainly from, my tenure starting in the 80s, late 80s to 2000s, a big jump in transition, but also too, you rode a big wave starting in 2000 as well. I mean, markets were opening up. People actually gave a shit. You weren't really having to, get hung up on half a dozen times to, get at least a conversation started. So tell me a little bit what it was like selling back then. I kind of give you a broad question, let you run with it a little bit, a little bit about what it took to find shelf space, if you recall, and, some of the challenges you might have faced there. But, again, it was a different time because you started getting a little bit more competition into the deal. So if you wouldn't mind, just talk a little bit, if you wouldn't, just frame up a little bit about what you recall back then.
I was really fortunate. My father-in-law had a really good friend. His name was Dean Walsh. And he was he was a grower out of Oxnard. And when I transitioned, I left the market, and then all of a sudden, I got a job at Pure Pak, and selling all these commodities I never even heard of. I was like, what's fennel? What's daikon? What's kale? I mean, what is this stuff? And luckily for me, during that time, you're right, there was a boom and it was much more accepted. It was much more in demand. Whole Foods was, really big into that. And it was the big move. Luckily I worked for a company that was known, but we also had a huge program. I mean, we had strawberries. Everyone wanted the Pure Pak berries, which made it really easy to make friends. Plus, we had all the other stuff. We had the kale, the broccoli. I mean, we had a full program, but back then there wasn't as many players that had programs like that. I mean, it was, more little independent farmers, whatnot. But, that was one of the bigger shippers at the time. I mean, there was only probably, there was Callow, there was, DW Berry Farms. I don't even remember, Braga wasn't there. Lakeside was small, if at all. So it was really easy to take a market share, especially having the berries. Whole Foods wanted the berries all the time. It's really easy to say, hey, you want 10 pounds of berries? I need you to take 4 kale, 6 broccoli, and 2 daikon. And it was a no-brainer. I mean, back then it was really easy to sell other items because we had the anchor, we had those berries. And at that time, it was a big deal. So again, I was very fortunate and very lucky to work for a great grower and a well-known company that didn't make it very hard to get that shelf space. But as time progressed, it's much more competitive than it was then. I mean, I could get in the office at 6 a.m. and I could be sold out by noon, easy, every day, So I was lucky. I mean, that's it. I was lucky, especially coming from conventional, I was like, what? 2 pallets? What happened to straight loads? I mean, I'm used to selling straight load of 140 choice lemons, 27 ruby stars, Texas grapefruit. I was used to volume, and it was different. World. Oh yeah, it was way different. But the margins.
But you had Peter to keep you entertained in the office.
You
had Peter Oil there.
Peter's it's like a love-hate relationship with Peter. He's like he was so different, and I'd never met anyone like Peter. And
there is nobody like Peter.
No, to be honest, the day I got there, he was like, what is he doing here? And he said, I'm leaving. And he left. And Dean says, answer the phone. I'm like, well, this is my first day. Just answer the phone. Okay. So, that's how it happened. Then Peter ended up coming back and we worked together for a little while. It's even funny. We lived in the same neighborhood in Ventura, and, probably for 6 months, I'd jump in his car and he'd give me a ride to work every day, So Peter it has an amazing heart. He's rough on the edges, but he's a great person. He's a good person.
He's an interesting cat all the way around. He was always, incredibly entertaining gentleman, to say the least.
100%.
He's a legend.
No. And then, I didn't realize how famous he was or how well known. He's a pioneer.
He's a gamer.
He's like, it was good to work with him and experience him. And, I learned some different things from him. You learn from everyone along the way. And
absolutely. Absolutely.
I was truly blessed to work for Dean Walsh, and it was a blessing in disguise to meet and work with Peter too. He's got a good heart. He's a good dude.
There's no doubt. When you think about 20 plus years ago, right, looking back at it, the organic marketplace and what it was to kind of what it is today, give me, what concerns you about it today? When you think about the organic marketplace today.
What concerns me? I'm concerned that there's people that don't understand the organic world, that see the higher prices and don't want to put in the work and time and money that it takes to do those things and get those returns. I feel like there's a lot of people trying to, and it kind of tarnishes the industry a little bit. It's really, you have to be really dedicated. Your heart has to be there. And it's really, really expensive. And I the shortcut guys scare me. But what are you going to do? That's what scares me. The guys that aren't truly organic and, trying to bring down markets because they can, and they just want a quick buck. That concerns me. The pricing, and that kind of concerns me a little bit too. I feel like this coming winter is going to be a pretty good market if you have product. I think with the inflation and the cost of fertilizer and the lack of water, I think markets will be good. But then again, I hope people can afford to pay for it. Because it is expensive.
There's no two ways about that. You brought up a couple of really good points, and it is a challenging industry to be in. And I think what's happened in a lot of ways is that there's just been too much emphasis on trying to drive cost out of every equation when it comes to our American food system, not just organic produce, but all across the board. And that becomes a little bit of its own problem, because cheap, I say all the time, cheap has a hidden cost, and we have to be cognizant of that. And I think to your point about where the economy is heading, we'll probably touch on that a little bit as well, but where we're heading, what does it actually mean back to the grower? Because we know statistically when economies go bad, fruits and vegetables sales start to decline. And then you start to have a category that has a premium to it, which, obviously is, however you want to describe it, I'll call it as a positive cost of food, right? Trying to work on creating, an organic infrastructure and a system that allows us to, maybe we get to 100% of America's food is organic. That'd be a trip to talk about, but it becomes right. I mean, seriously, I mean, I don't know why we
crazy.
don't talk. Well, I know, but I don't know why we don't talk about it more. We act like it's unattainable, and that's really not the truth, because 200 years ago, it was all organic. I mean, what did you have, right? I mean, come on.
100%.
So I do think that there is some concern, and you pointed up, and I think it's important that the organic marketplace recognize that there are some challenges ahead, and they need to be proactive and not be complacent. And to your point, markets might be good. They may not be good. May not be people to buy it, right? A $20 market and no buyers isn't really a $20 market. That's how you find a $2 market.
That's it.
But I think it's going to be a real world challenge, but when you think about like the marketplace 20 years ago versus today, what do you think the biggest change has been? I mean, do you think it's been acceptance? Do you think it's been just sheer volume getting out there, grasping more people? Or do you think that it's gone to a negative side, or it doesn't have the same, spiritual vibe that it might have had to you 20 years back?
I think initially, a lot of conventional growers saw the returns and saw the prices on organic. I think that made a lot of them get into it.
Right.
I think as prices are driven down, it gets a little more accepted as it's a little more affordable. But again, I think a lot of the younger people are much more concerned with what they put in their body. So I mean, I think it's grown, a lot because of the younger people, again, who are concerned what they're putting in their body and what they're feeding their babies. And, people want to do the best thing for themselves. So I think that's helped a lot, but, I don't know where it's going. I just being at the Organic Produce Summit, looking at the difference, in the last couple of years from the organic prices and conventional. I mean, it's about 80% higher than conventional now, where it was, 120% before. I mean, the standard was always just double conventional. And I've watched that slowly get chipped away, which is good for consumers, but it's bad for farmers. So I think, one, it's been much more accepted. Two, people are much more concerned with what they're putting in their body. And three, I think the pricing has gotten significantly better in a whole, as far as, what people are going to the market and getting.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, let's stay on this train of thought a little bit and talk a little bit about the economy, just to get your perspective on what you're seeing. Because it's a subject I'm trying to talk with all my guests, especially one in a position like yours, because look, I know for a fact you don't wake up any day and go, God, I hope I can take the market to $3 today, right? I mean, it's just not the mindset of somebody that's working for growers. So when you look at, kind of our country and the economy today, two-part question: what kind of excites you about what you're seeing out there? And then maybe what disappoints you about what you're seeing out there? Did I stump you? Did I throw you a stumper?
No, I'm kind of worried about how things are going right now. I think we're going in a poor direction. I think I'm concerned. There's a lot of infighting between people, and you can't have conversations with people without getting into a fight over, you're wrong, I'm right, you're an idiot. I mean, that's stupid. I mean, it's really weird. And the economy as a whole, I mean, people are getting paid to not have to go to work. I mean, there's no incentive for people to go out and work. Even then, I find that, I don't want to put my finger on a whole younger generation, but people don't want to work that hard anymore. I mean, when we were on the market, I mean, you had to work hard on the market. It was hard. You had to be fast. You had to be kind of strong. Things were moving at a quick pace. If you weren't willing to work hard, you weren't going to make it anywhere down there, much less as you moved up. I mean, how many people want to get up at 11 o'clock at night and work till 11 in the morning? I mean, it just doesn't happen. And I'm concerned people just don't want to work, and when they do, they don't want to work that hard, I mean, so I'm concerned, with the younger generations and work ethics, and, the economy it's a whole different conversation. I'm concerned with, gas prices. I mean, even if you have product, is your customer in Pennsylvania going to send a truck across the country? I mean, I don't know. Is he going to try and find the niche somewhere out there so he can get it cheap and not have to pay the freight? These are things that really affect the overall traction of our industry,
Mhm.
and the growing costs. I mean, lack of water, fertilizers through the roof. I mean, all these things are part of the economy, and they're all not helping very much. So yeah, I'm concerned. Do I think it can be corrected? Probably with a lot of rain and a few other things, but I mean, it's an interesting time. Like I said, I mean, even if you have product, I mean, again, is there going to be people out there that can afford to pay for it?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, you make a really, really good point. I mean, there's a lot of trickle down that's going to affect the food dollars. And that's where I lean into what I kind of said earlier about how important it is that we recognize putting energy in, not so much maybe it's necessarily about what our brand name is, but the fact that we want to work on trying to increase consumption. We want to work about people engaged with fresh fruit and vegetables because it's such an important part of our lives, right? I mean, like I say it all the time, nauseum. Nobody's going to live well on a 79-cent box of mac and cheese, right? Tastes great, got you through college, but it ain't going to feed the family forever. And we've got to come up with ways to work within the system and the cards that we've been dealt to make sure that we're uplifting people's food supply. There's no two ways about that.
No doubt about it. I mean, I've got 3 kids. They're mac and cheese and chicken pot pies, and it's like, come on, dude, you can't just eat that no, it's great. That's all I want. I'm like,
it's like, when you're a kid, it's a little bit,
it's a little different, I'm not living off mac and cheese.
Yeah, no, it's a different. So you're right. I mean, this economy is going to be a very challenging thing for us to do. And I think to your point about conversations, that it almost appears like we don't want to have conversation. A lot of times people just want to be right, not necessarily wrong. And so for me to be right, it means you have to be wrong, as opposed for, a conversation that may sway your opinion or open up your mind. I have found through this platform, especially, the openness and of conversation, because I've had people on and talked about things I wasn't so sure about. And I've swayed some thoughts and opinions and gotten a little bit more educated on certain things because of being exposed and being open-minded about it. And I think that, to your point, that narrow-mindedness is going to kick our ass.
It's gonna sting. It's gonna sting. I mean, I think a healthy, economy has to do with healthy conversations. I mean,
for sure.
I mean, it's good for you. And I mean, it's, to make you think about different things without being called an idiot, or that's wrong or that's right. I mean, we have a people problem right now. And hopefully we can get out of that, and, people can, start to have more interaction with each other, because, even with COVID, I think that really sped up, the lack of conversations and the lack of being outside and communicating with people. And it messed up a lot of things, we
definitely got more transactional, especially in the space we're in, right? I mean, the world got much more transactional.
Yeah. People don't want to go outside. They want to work at home forever. They don't want, I mean, it's, I don't know. It's like hiding from confrontation. I mean, this is part of life, I mean, but it is what it is. I mean, there's not much I can do about what other people do or what they don't do.
No, 100%, dude. 100%. Well, you make a good point. I mean, I think you take a look at what social media is, right? Social media allows everybody to be Tommy Toughnuts and say whatever they want, then run from it, right? And so, unfortunately, we're not emotionally strapped in between our ears to deal with that, I don't think, at this point. So it does promote, there's some really tough people that'd be the first ones to run in a fight, right? To get behind what their words are on social media. And and it's dangerous in a lot of ways. We've got to be cognizant of that. I'm sure as you with young kids, right? Mine are grown and gone, right? So I'm a different boat as you, but you got young kids, and it's got to be something you've got to be looking at and talking to them about, being like, hey, I can remember calling a kid, when I was a kid, you had to pick up the phone and call somebody, and your mom and dad would answer the phone. So you had to talk to everybody's mom and dad when they call the house, right?
That's it.
Or you knock on the door and mom and dad, whatever, would be there to open it. You'd have to deal with parents. We don't deal with that shit anymore, right? It's like text and run, baby.
That's it. I mean, it's such a different time now. I mean, back then you go find the house that had all the bikes in the front yard, and now it's like, I mean, now everyone's on a headset talking to their friends in Texas or wherever they may be.
Yeah.
It's
a different world.
It's kind of sad though. I mean, there's so much that I learned from playing outside and, coming home when the sun sets. I mean, those are just the rules, and
6 o'clock.
I'm just thankful for activities like Little League. I mean, my kids are very involved in that. So, I mean, they get to be outside quite a bit.
Are you a crazy dad? Are you a crazy dad in the stands? Are you sitting there yelling at every freaking third grade umpire out there? Are you that guy?
Nah, you know what? I've been
All right.
I've coached my kids for like 10 years, and I've
Oh,
heard those crazy parents.
Oh my God.
I'm on the other side, you know. I know I was on the board for a number of years for our little league. I raised money for them, and everyone's a volunteer, you know. So the people that are yelling at the kids and umpires, I mean, they're the people that have never volunteered for anything, and they don't they don't get it, you know. But no, I'm not. I am fully for those umpires and
I love it.
and being kind to all of them, because they're all important. And the baseball field's a great place.
There's no two ways about it. Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about what you're doing. Let's talk about your new gig a little bit. Tell me what's up today with your new company and what's the deal all about.
Thanks for joining the Todd-versation. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, this is Samantha Rodriguez, the marketing coordinator at Brighter Bites. Thank you for listening to Todd-versations. At Brighter Bites, we are rooted in the belief that if we give our kids something better to munch on, they will. With your support, we will continue to improve the lives of children, their families, and our communities across the country. By providing the finest nutrition education strategies and amazing fresh produce, we are growing our mission to create communities of health through fresh food. Join Brighter Bites in celebrating our 10th birthday. We are helping to create healthier habits for families across the country, one bite at a time. Learn more at brighterbites.org. Don't forget, the better we nourish, the brighter we flourish.
Well, I've got some amazing partners in Mexico. I'm going to get some flack for this one, but GM Productores Agricolas, they're one of the largest family-owned growers in Baja. They work with a number of big companies and do some packing for them. They reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to be a part of something. And I opened Bluebird Mountain Organics as the Beyer Company is the parent company, but it's doing business as Bluebird Mountain. Naturally grown is our label that we came up with out of Mexico for all the wet veg. So that's it's all grown so that I can sell it and make sure they get the best returns they can get. So it's an amazing family. I've been going to Mexico a lot the last 3 months, and the facilities, how they treat their employees. I mean, it's incredible. It's like nothing I've really experienced. They have housing, they feed them. I mean, they're well taken care of. The owner, every time I go visit him, we walk the fields and, everyone runs up to him and says hi, and he shakes their hand, gives them a hug. I mean, it's very nice to see, especially with the stigma I think Mexico has as far as, treating employees poor and they work for nothing. And I mean, they're really well taken care of out there. And it's really cool to be partners with such a big company that does, they're doing a lot of forward thinking things. They make their own fertilizer. They've got, a lab where they make all their own pathogens to fight bugs and insects. That's all organic. I mean, these are really incredible things that I've been to a lot of packing houses. I've been to a lot of ranches, and it's really nice to see what they're doing and be a part of it. We will have our first season that will start in September, October. We'll start with green onions, and then we'll start with celery. And I mean, it's a pretty simple wet veg program. Celery, kale, cilantro, parsley, radish, cabbage, broccoli. That's going to be the first season. There's discussions about trying to put a fruit program together during the summer, because generally in the past, I've always experienced that in the summertime, you give all the money back you made in the wintertime, because it's just a brutal market for veg in the summer.
For sure.
Everyone's got local all over the country. I lose all my friends on the East Coast. They got North Carolina, Texas, Georgia. I mean, so to fill that gap, but I've also got another partner in Oxnard who grows for me in the summertime, and he'll grow in the winter too. So it's a concurrent. I mean, so I have a year-round program of wet veg. We're also working on a date program. We were going to have year-round organic dates. And it's pretty interesting to see how that works. That's a whole new industry for me. Different customers. I got to learn something all over again, but it's good to be with a good company that believes in it and makes it a lot easier to promote it and talk about it and tell everyone what's going on. So I'm pretty excited. This company opened, in the last 3 or 4 months. So it's been really hard to reach out and get business going, especially in the summertime when everyone's got local. So, thankfully I've got a lot of good friends out there and I'm pretty grateful for the customers I've been able to set up, even though I'm not selling anything really in volume at the moment. And I think the winter is going to be, I think it's going to be a good winter. If you have product. Again, I don't know if there's going to be enough people out there to pay for it, but I mean, if you have stuff, I think it should be pretty good. So I'm really excited about this partnership and this joint venture, and it's going to be fun. Our naturally grown organic label will come out in September. We'll have our green onions first, and that will be in our box, and then moving forward, it will be in our box. So it's pretty exciting. I've got great people that I'm involved with I can't say enough of how lucky I am to fall into this relationship and this joint venture, because it's been a bumpy road to get here. I had my own company a number of years ago, and and it was another heartache to lose that one, but I'm so thankful for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to doing this one and doing it well and right, and having to be around for a long time. So if my kids are crazy enough, there's a place for them to sit and a phone, if you still use phones by then, but
they're your kids. I'm sure there's a small measure of crazy brewing in there someplace, if I was guessing.
My daughter's a little nuts, but hopefully she'll grow out of it. She's 12 right now. So
good luck. You got a ways to go.
I'm in the thick of it right now. It just started. So, she hates me every day, but she'll be back.
She'll be back. It's how it works. Works. Been there, done that. I think it's great, dude. Congratulations. I'm excited for your success and where you're heading and what you're doing.
I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, you're a good voice out there. You're talking about your kids in baseball a little bit and thinking about your past, coming up on the street in LA and this and that. It got me kind of resonating with like a thought, thinking about, something I'm really big into and something I try to talk about with people all the time is what is a mentor, right? And a mentor is really, really just being a friend in a lot of ways. It's not like you have some special handshake or badge that you wear that says I'm a mentor, right? And anybody can be a mentor, right? I mean, it's there's no application. There's just a choice you get to make about being one. When you think about that, about your past and today and your kids playing baseball and kind of how you viewed all that, why do people like that? Why do people mentors in that way matter to you, or do they matter to you? And do you kind of have an example maybe of somebody that really pepped up your life a little bit, made a difference?
I think you made a good point. I mean, they're really friends. I think mentors are really important. I mean, it's just life experiences that they can share with you, or trying to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish a little differently, or maybe a way that you're not seeing. So I've been really lucky. I've worked for a number of companies with different types of owners at all of them. I mean, I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was talking to my wife, and it's funny because I don't think of my dad as a mentor per se, but he has been the most influential in my produce career, directly, indirectly, however you want to do it. Without him, I would not be half the person I am right now, just because, he taught me about taking care of customers. He really emphasized taking care of customers. The first couple of years I was hanging out at the office, here's a blue book, read it, learn it. It's the most important thing you'll ever have. Those were the foundations of what I learned. And then having my grandpa above him, just emphasizing those things. My grandpa was a lot harder and, meaner than my dad. And, so to have both of those, but again, when I first started selling on the market, I always think about Eddie Morrison, who's at Interfresh.
Yeah. Old
He
school
was,
name.
yeah, he was helpful. He helped me when I first started selling and on the street. And I mean, his name, he always pops into my head. Franz de Klotz, rest in peace, Franz. I mean, Franzi was always good to me. And he was helpful too in trying to, calm me down a little. He's a very gentle guy and soft-spoken, and for some reason we got along really well, but he also, tried to bring me down a little bit as far as, just don't be so crazy, and the owner of Borg, which is Pacific Trellis, he was another, tough as nails, David Sullivan. I mean, he kind of taught me to stand up a little bit more and volunteer for more things, and don't let things pass you by. If there's an opportunity, go get it. Don't let it go. Someone else will get it if you don't. I mean, Dean Walsh, I mean, I learned a lot from him. I mean, I've been really lucky to have all these different colorful characters in my life that have all influenced me one way or another. I think they're extremely important. You never know who the next mentor is or who the next person you might learn something from. And, it's produce. You learn something new every day.
No doubt,
every day.
No
it's
doubt.
a funny term. I think everyone knows that in produce. I think at this point, you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
So I think they're really important. I think they can be really beneficial, and you don't know when you have one until I think after the fact. And you're like,
correct.
I learned this guy was awesome. He taught me this, and I learned this, and he said I should approach it like this. And I mean, so I think they're extremely important, and I'm very lucky to have the ones I've had.
Yeah, dude, I totally agree with you. And you make a really good point. You know what? You may not get a novel out of them. You might get one sentence that absolutely alters your life. But I think you have
100%.
But you have to, I think when you get into this about mentoring and get along these things, you got to be willing to give, and you got to be willing to give too. Right. And I think that you've got to be able to give out energy back to people in order to receive energy back from people, and to be able to see where it takes you. I think it's just so important. I mean, I think about the laundry list of people that I have that I consider mentors in my life, people who have guided me, people that, whatever the case may be, whatever the situation might be. I mean, it's how important they are to your life, not only in the moment, but reflection points going back. So I think it's great. Congratulations on that. I love it. It's a great answer, dude. I think it's important, thinking about your kids and what you're doing. Keep on that track, dude. It's going to be really meaningful for them as they age too, as they get up and older, to be able to accept advice and help like that. So it's huge.
No,
it's huge.
100%. Constructive criticism is good. You got to be able to hear.
Well, and a good beating builds character. I always taught that to my kids. I always say, no, just kidding. Don't send me hate mail, people. I'm only kidding, for God's sake.
No, my grandpa was more the tough love guy. He was the hard beating guy. But I mean, he was around when I had the first company, and he was, if I needed advice, I would ask him.
He was there.
I mean, he was there. Unfortunately, he's not here to see this amazing thing that's about to happen, but he's still watching somewhere because he can't get enough produce no matter where he is.
Yeah,
so,
that's exactly probably the truth. I love it.
So,
dude, this was fun. This was a great chat. I mean, people get to know you a little bit, get to your new gig out there, and get people fired up to be a part of what you got going. I mean, I appreciate you hanging out with me today. It's been a fun chat. You've been very candid, very open, which I appreciate.
No, we've been talking about this, kicking this back and forth for a little while, and I think now might be a good time. And I'm so thankful for, I mean, I've known you for a long time, and, we kind of met indirectly, and we just kind of became better friends as we've gone. So I'm so thankful for you inviting me here and sharing your network of friends with me. If there's anything I can do for you, you let me know.
We're playing golf, and you're buying green fees.
I got you.
And you're giving me 5 strokes aside.
No problem. And I'm going to buy you a bottle of tequila so that I can get a head start on you.
Yeah, that part we're okay with. I just can't believe you say you're going to give me 5 strokes aside. I just stopped listening after that.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I gotta feed you though on the way.
Oh Jesus, here it comes. No, super fun, dude. I'm really glad that you hung out with me. I really do. I appreciate you very much. Everybody, thanks for listening and hanging out with us today. Go check out what Darrell's up to. It's great. It's a great dude doing some fun stuff, get on the tip of the iceberg, ride this ride to see what it goes, see what we can do to help uplift farmers and conversations like we've been talking about today. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to check us out, rate, review, subscribe, all that crap on social media. You know how they do. The young kids hang out there, so we're there. Come share your story with us. Talk to us. See how we can help you grow your brand. We're having a good time doing it, and we have a lot of success. So hang out with us. Come visit us. We appreciate it. Go inspire somebody today like this conversation should do for you. Take care of everybody, and we'll see you soon. Stay cool, everyone. Take care.